I wanted to take a look at IBM stock. IBM stock is an AI stock, and as all AI stocks are soaring like they are, Nvidia just reported their earnings last night and AI stocks are moving higher. IBM stock is actually an undervalued stock. It is an AI stock that has a lot of appreciation potential. But investing is sort of a popularity contest. And right now, IBM stock isn't necessarily a popular stock, doesn't get a whole lot of chatter on searches and things like this within Google and YouTube. Because of that, this one's kind of been left behind despite being undervalued and an AI stock. Let's jump in. I'll show you the yield that I'm looking at and why IBM stock could potentially move much higher once people catch on. It is moving up a little bit today, but this is off the heels of moving downward because of concerns yesterday going into Nvidia stock earnings release. That's been erased. Let's jump in and I'll show you my charts. Here's a look on IBM stock from January 31st. This video has been in my drafts for pushing over 3 weeks at this point. Three things for IBM stock that's really kind of driving IBM stock, aside from being an AI stock. Top line and bottom line growth. IBM invested heavily in AI, and they're starting to see that return. They're going to see progressively more and more return, and this is not being appreciated by the market, the stock market, broadly speaking. Despite the fact that you're seeing headlines like this, IBM stock is an AI stock. AI stocks are going up. IBM as a company is increasing, and no one's really paying attention. Okay, cool. That's how you take advantage. Be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy. Warren Buffett always talks about that. Most AI stocks are accelerating higher. IBM stock moving up, but not nearly as much, giving a potential investment in IBM stock a much higher growth rate. AI investments are paying off, and then they're seeing some hybrid cloud growth, which is really starting to add to the top and bottom line as well for IBM and IBM stock. Here's a look at the 4-hour bar chart for IBM stock. You can see the earnings release. It was, I want to say, the 24th of January. IBM stock shooting upward, kind of moving sideways ever since then. The latest move down from, say, 187.50 down to about 180. Nvidia stock just had their earnings release last night, and a lot of people were concerned that the rate of growth for revenue, top line revenue, and bottom line earnings for Nvidia stock was slowing down. There is some slowing down, but not as much as feared. And because of that, everybody going into that earnings release was selling off. And this is one of the reasons why IBM stock sold off as it did. Since then, IBM stock starting to move back upwards. But let's break down some of the financials of IBM stock. First, QQQ stock. This is the NASDAQ ETF. And that's in the orange. And as you can see, IBM stock versus QQQ going all the way back to 2022, late period, maybe say November, October area. IBM stock has been underperforming QQQ by a bit. You're looking at the percentages if you're looking at the right-hand corner. So IBM stock is up about 27.5%, whereas QQQ is up 50%. So there's a pretty decent lag of about 23%. Will IBM stock catch up? From time to time, they have been in the same area, but QQQ, of course, is really overpriced because of other stocks that have really been accelerating. I also wanted to take a look at SOXX, SOXX ETF, SOXX stock. This is the semiconductor ETF, which when you take a look at IBM stock versus the semiconductors, IBM has nothing to do with semiconductors, of course, but a lot of semiconductors are operating within the AI stock arena. And because IBM is doing a lot of sort of reinventing itself, getting into the AI sphere in a consulting basis, I wanted to show the performance of how these semiconductors are really accelerating IBM doesn't do semiconductors, they do more consulting. So it's more of a services kind of thing. So there's a lot of potential that I could see where IBM stock would catch up to this because they kind of go hand in hand. Here's a look at the quarterly revenue, 17.38 billion. This topped their Q4 2022 numbers. Projected revenue. Now they took a hit going through 2018, 19, and into 20, dropping all the way as they did in 2021. But we're starting to progressively see IBM's revenue, projected revenue, continue and get up back up there. It'll take a couple years until they get to 2018. Remember, they reinvented themselves and sort of chopped up the company and said, listen, this is where the most lucrative portion of the company will be, and therefore IBM stock would benefit from this. Gross margins, nice little pop here. They're keeping, on a gross basis, they're keeping 60 cents on every dollar that they bring in. Operating margins, hefty, 24%. And finally, gross margin or net margins, 18.9%. They're keeping $1.89 for every $10 that they're bringing in. Not bad at all. Projected price to earnings ratio. This is one of the things that really kind of stands out. Whereas previously, price to earnings ratio was much higher. Right now, it's much lower. Historically, not exactly the lowest, but it gives you an idea that whereas the whole broader stock market could be at 30 times, IBM stock only 20 times. Now, earnings per share. Here's a breakdown. Q3, of course, hit coming in at 355. But what I always like to look at is projected earnings per share. Looking at the $10.13 for 2024. This is what I'm going to break down when I look at yield. Treasury yield today, 4.325%, likely to go higher. Maybe go as high as, say, 4.5%. Maybe we'll see 4.75%, simply because inflation isn't necessarily playing the game that the Federal Reserve wants. QQQ stock, if you bought one share of every stock in QQQ, you would get a yield of about 3.35% when you look to the next 4 quarters of each individual stock, given the current stock price today. SOXX, SOXX ETF, the stock I talked about earlier, in line with QQQ, but the $10.13 for IBM stock gets you a yield of 5.60%, 5.61. So this is a stock that is underperformed. Now keep in mind, they kind of reinvented themselves and really went in with getting more into the consulting and services segment. They're really getting into the AI portion. AI stocks, of course, really taking off. IBM is not, even though it is elevated from where it was previously. This is a 10-year high we're looking at right around these prices. But take a look at AI stocks. AI stocks are really soaring. IBM has the capability of catching up. Net margins on IBM stock are nice and rich. You look at the AI stock, say the semiconductors, where they're seeing heavy demand. All right, that's the hardware. IBM would provide the consulting and the background, the services segment of AI that you're looking for if you're looking to invest in AI stocks. Margins are a little better. Right now, IBM stock underperforming the broader market when it comes to AI stock performance. I look at IBM stock and say it will probably catch up. You'll probably see a narrowing of the differential between the yield on IBM and, say, QQQ. The only caveat to all this, of course, the economy. Will the Federal Reserve be forced in about 3, 4, 6 months to start talking down inflation more and more and have to start pushing up interest rates again? This will derail everything. Plain and simple, just like we saw back in October. That's still being played out, and I believe that the Federal Reserve is going to have to start talking tough, maybe push interest rates up 1/4 or 1/2 point, and merely talking interest rates higher could pump the brakes on the economy, the stock market broadly speaking, and that might be enough. As of right now, it's still kind of working and playing out, but this is one of the first variables I always look for when I'm looking to invest in any kind of stocks. Nonetheless, I wanted to kind of break this down. IBM stock, I see it's underpriced for an AI stock. IBM stock likely to continue to move higher as the rest of these stocks move upward. Make sure to hit that like and follow button. We'll see you in the next video.